Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back with another slime video. And the rerun for the World of Fantasy Beatdown battle is here against Jinfree, whatever you want to call him. He's a dick. This fight's been out for a few days now, and I'm sure you've already attempted it. And you notice that one, he does a literal shit ton of damage to you. And he has like a secret 50% chance to counter, and it doesn't say he has counterattacks, right? But you know that he's got counterattacks built in, because he, I think, counters at least 2 hits every single turn of mine, and it makes me want to kill babies. So it's definitely not fun. He has 23.8 attack and 14.4 defense on Inferno 3, while having 750,000 health. So, he's definitely not the easiest thing to do. And because both blues and oranges are nerfed immediately, you can only realistically bring a green-focused team. Now, there are a few green-focused teams in this fight, in the game. And there are certainly a lot of physical units in the game. And a lot of magic units that can get the job done too. So today, we're not going to go into Inferno 3. That's not the whole point of the video. I'm trying to get people the free dupes of Gabiru. Why? Because he's a free unit, and he will serve some purpose for free-to-play players as a free unit. These stages, honestly, if you don't have the meta, you can kiss it all goodbye, because the jump in difficulty, he has 428k and 18.7 here, and then Inferno 1, he's got how much? 19.7 and 542. Maybe it's not the most extreme jump between Extreme and Inferno, but if you can barely beat EX3, there's no way in hell you're doing Infernos. And you only get hammers and the motes, which again, for newer players, the motes don't mean shit because you don't have any unit at level 100. And the hammer, I mean, would be nice, but I wouldn't rip your hair out over it. So we're going to be focusing on multiple teams, a lot of teams, that can clear EX3. Now, with the disclaimer that obviously my units have dupes, and yours will be probably weaker, so you may not get to EX3, you may cap out at 2 or 1, whatever, at least you get the unit, right? So, this video is just to help you guys out. But, yeah, okay, yeah, so, if you want to support the channel, video description, go try some W energy drink, use my code IceColdJoker for 10% off. That feels really weird to throw in there, but you know what? We're going to do it anyways, because I don't think I've done it in quite a few videos. So yeah, 10%, yay! Money, discounts, everyone loves discounts. Let's get started. Okay, so I'm just going to put this clip in here because it's a good reference point. This is Inferno 3, and this is going into like the big time nuke turn. I've got a full Gods of Destiny team right here, and we're going to get an EX ult for both Shuna and Rain. Now, it's quite difficult to get all of the buffs on both units and then send them away, so we can't really do that here, but we are going to have quite a bit of damage output as a whole. Plus, we brought Shinsha, who's giving us that 60% damage buff. Unfortunately, we don't have Soka because she kicked the bucket, so we gotta make do with what we can. So, let's go ahead and use the ult buff, 70%. She lowers space resistance, which doesn't matter, because no one who's nuking is space. So, we've got that. We're going to have guaranteed crits because of Milim. And let's go ahead and bring Shuna in for Trya. And now, she already has the light and crit damage buff on, so now we can only apply the magic buff, which is, since it's turn 4, it's at 20% magic power instead of 40, which again, I think is a big downside to Rain. 3 turns is just not enough time. But we do have 2 EX ults, they're both alt buffed and magic buffed. Rain does 127k, Shuna does 271, and then we have a terrible hand of orbs. Maybe we would have been able to do it if we had had that extra 45% attack with the follow-ups and everything, but it didn't work out, and I didn't feel like sitting here for another 2 hours trying to get this run, so that's the Gods of Destiny team versus Inferno 3. So let's now try Goddess of Destiny against EX3. Okay, so here we have the Goddess of Destiny team, like I said, but this is EX3, not Inferno 3. You know, it's pretty much the same, except we have the Hero 2.0 instead of Shinsha and that Inferno run. That's just because Shinsha hasn't really been around a lot. So let's go ahead and jump through. Turn 1, we do have the skill point units up front to give us that extra 12 points so we can use 12 points so we could use both the orb change from Trya and the green buff from Rain immediately, which will definitely help in getting some ults for everybody. We're going to run it like this, and then we'll bring Shuna in next turn to get her EX ult. I could have brought her in this turn and put her in the first slot and pray that she got enough orbs, but you know, I found sometimes it doesn't quite work out as well as I want it to. This is a pretty good hand, only 2 blues, but we do have 3 orbs to steal. Them being Rain is unfortunate because we do want Rain orbs, but they're all going to be Shuna orbs anyway, so it doesn't really matter. We're going to convert all of them to green, though, because Trya can change her orbs, which are now changed. So now Shuna can steal all these, and they will be all greens, and give us the maximum buff, and skill point gain, and protection gain, and literally everything. So it worked out fairly well. Now, we're only on turn 2, and Sokka is missing almost half her HP, which just goes to show how hard this stage can actually hit you, because his attacks, plus the burn, plus his stupid counterattacks, you know, if you get unlucky, you could have a unit die in, like, 2 turns, if you get terribly unlucky. Alright, yeah, like that. Like, if he had counterattacked or something else, I don't know, Sokka would be dead. So, let's go ahead and get her out of here. We've used her Guarantee Green Orb skill again, so next turn will look pretty good. We can get an EX ult with Shuna without having to steal anything, and we don't really need to use Mirren again, because everything lasts for 2 turns on her, so we're just going to go ahead and send this. This will get an ult for Rain as well, which is fairly nice, but it unfortunately doesn't give us a double protection gauge for Mirren, but it is what it is. We're going to use this anyway because we do have a charm on her, giving extra crit damage, I believe. I think is what I have, but it'll last for 2 turns. Alright, 13k on Shuna now, which is looking pretty good. 29.4, and he's down to half HP after all these follow-ups, less than that now. Alright, and we have triple ult technically, but we're not really going to use triple ult because we need to bring Sokka in. So we've used the hero's skill. We're going to swap her out for Sokka, get the 45% of, or what, 40? 40%, right? No, it's still 45. Okay. 45. And now we're going to buff with Rain. We are again on turn 4, so we're not getting maximum power from Rain, but I don't think it really matters here. So Rain does 87k, and then Shuna does 168, plus all the extra follow-up. So the Goddess of Destiny team can definitely take on EX3. You know, besides Sokka, my units are pretty low duped. They have good gear, though. So, I mean, that's the kicker. But that's the first team. Let's move on. Okay, so this is the next team that I built. We've got old Protector Chloe, because she is a green-focused orb-changing Protector, and alt buffer, and skill cap raiser. So she's got a lot of stuff going on for a Protector that's over a year old now. So, over a year and a half, almost. No, actually, it is a year and a half. Yeah, she's quite old. She came out in February, March, somewhere around there. Maybe, yeah, somewhere around there of 2022. So, we also have Rain, again. So, this is assuming you have Rain. Now, we have Alice and Milim. Alice came out with Chloe, so, I mean, you may or may not have her. She's gonna give Pierce. Milim is here just for funsies. But, you know, maybe you pulled her, maybe you got lucky when you summoned on the World of Fantasy Rerun banner. And then we have Velzard and Raphael, who, well, disclaimer, are skill fused. So they do have different skills than what they would normally be if you were only at level 80 or 84. So they are quite a bit more powerful than other people's units. But, you know, It's a proof of concept video, right? So let's go ahead and put this up. I forgot to record turn 1, but we've used the orb change from Raphael Milim, brought Velzard and Milim in from the back, and now we're going and sending all 6 because we want their gauges more than anything else. Raphael can be a backup to DPS, just like Rain could be, but we're really looking for the main buffs from Raphael and Velzard, because Raphael lowers defense, gives water units pierce power, Velzard raises her attack and lowers pierce resistance on the enemy, and then Alice is here to give us pierce. So Milim is not really going to be at full power because no one is giving her crit, so that's why she's here for funsies. She's just another water unit because I wanted 5 water units on this team. So, Rain again is also here to buff the green gauges, which is going to be important. Velzard and Raphael also don't need EX ults, so we can get their ult and send them away, which is really nice. The unfortunate part is I can't use Velzard's skill and then hold it, because one of them is a 1-turn debuff, alongside being a 1-turn buff. I can hold Milim's buff, though. And I can technically hold Rain's buff on Velzard, because right now it is turn 3, it's still at 40%. It's just that when we nuke, we're going to be missing that 20% resistance down for magic, which is a little unfortunate, but it is what it is. I wanted the extra 20% pure magic damage on Velzard at least. It doesn't affect Milim at all, because she's not magic. But we'll go ahead and swap her out. We brought Allison, who has an orb change for blues, which means that once we swap Velzard out as well, we'll have a full hand of green, because Chloe changes oranges to greens, while raising our skill cap, which allows us to use multiple big-time buffs, like the Alice Pierce and the Raphael debuff. And, you know, this team actually runs fairly well, all things considered. We're going to send Alice last because she's physical in water, and she may do more damage. 52, yeah, definitely. Definitely did more. But I believe we used the Pierce buff already, and then sent Velzard away. If I'm not mistaken. I may have missed that. Open up those skills. Come on. You can do it. Yeah, we already did. Okay. So we could use it again, if we really wanted to, on someone else, and then sent them away. But I don't really know how useful that would be. So I think we just go ahead and run this turn. Yeah, we just run it as is. So we just send the 5 greens. We hold the Raphael ult here. And then turn 5, I do believe we nuke here. So take that ult, take that hit. Raphael almost has double bar, but doesn't really matter. So we have Velzard, who is, you know, as close to maximum power as we can be. We've got Milim also back there, who is, you know, here for funsy onesies. But, I mean, technically, if I wanted to, we could run this setup right here and not bring Milim in. But we decide against it, so it is what it is. Let's go ahead and use the defense down, the Frostbite, and then Velzard's skill, and then Milim's orb change just for funsies. It should, yeah, delete that 1 blue, and then we can use Chloe to get the extra 40% ult damage and change that last orb, so now we have a full hand, and then we'll send everything. And this ends up going fairly well. So 30k from Roth, not great. Velzard does 152, and Milim does 68k, and then Velzard follows up with 33 too, and there we go. Skill fused, you know, fancy Milim, Goddess Destiny Rain, maybe not the easiest units to get, but it is, you know, it is capable of clearing it. So let's move on to the next team. Alright, the next team, suppose you got lucky and you pulled Frey out of your, you know, your 5 multis and that 10% ticket if you did them. But that's all you got. But you happen to have a few units that do also fit on Goddess of Destiny, or, well, World of Fantasy. So we've got Grim Rimuru and Bride Shion. That works, alright. And then we've got Aqua to give Pierce, alongside Pierce Power. And then we've got 2 free-to-play units in Trya and Isis. So Trya can be our turn 1 orb changer, Isis can be our green buffer, and then Frey is going to give Rimuru and Shion that extra 60% damage because they fit on the category, and they're physical, and we're going to be doing some fairly good damage. Normally, Rimuru wouldn't really do too much because he doesn't get a Pierce buff, but because we're bringing Aqua, and you may have summoned on the Konosuba banner, you may have been playing then, maybe, I don't know. Instead of just Shion having the Pierce power, everybody gets Pierce power. And if we don't have enough to, get up to that, 60% Pierce power that Aqua gives from Shion, then cool. Then we're going to have 60% flat out. But my Shion is skill fused, so she does start out at 40% Pierce power, which is a lot, 15% higher than what other people would start at, 25. So if you have Aqua, then you will definitely have more Pierce power than what Shion can do by herself. But, having two physical units that are going to get that extra damage buff from Frey, plus guaranteed crits, plus the Pierce, we're going to do quite a bit of damage with this team, even without it being, quote-unquote, optimal, right? So, turn 1, Trya, orb changes. We're not bringing the skill point units, because I didn't want to for this specific run. We brought them already one time. So we're just going to have enough for the orb change and call it good. We're going to bring Shion in. Her trait does give her extra alt gauge for the first 3 turns, so turn 2 and turn 3, she will get extra gauge, which is nice. RERUN for the first 3 turns gives us extra protection gauge, which is also nice. And there you go, 9,000 damage on that crit from Shion, and then 14,900 right there, and we've taken off, a decent chunk of his health already. And, because, he has shadow counters, we got countered. And then we immediately got hit. And then we got burned. So we're looking real good. Real good. But we do have 3 Shion orbs. And because we have Frey, and now we've buffed the greens, we can get her ult here. Rimuru is also buffing the ult gauge that greens give with his Pierce Resistance down skill, which is nice. So we will definitely get Shion's ult, and we can send her away before she takes any more unnecessary damage. But we can orb change into a full hand of greens and not have to use Frey, which kind of works out in a way, because Aqua costs 80 points, which is quite a bit. But even with one Frey, we would have enough to do everything that we wanted to. So this wasn't entirely necessary, but it does help out a lot. So right here, I could use Shion's attack skill right now, because anything that we get from here would be eclipsed by Aqua. If you wanted to play it like that, you could. But she has an ult, we can send her away. And then Isis also has an ult, so I guess we'll send her away too for funsy onesies. We'll go ahead and use her orb change just to get another stack on the skills that Shion is getting for her power. And then we'll do this for funsies as well. And then we'll use Frey, because we have 2 of her. I'm just trying to stack up as much Pierce power as I can, so in case we can get more than the 60 that Aqua would give, then that's great. Then we're going to be even stronger. And if not, well, 60 should be enough. So, 100 points, almost 2 Freys. Alright, cheeky counter, but we cheeky super guarded there, so haha, go fuck yourself. 19.5k damage right there. 4 Trya orbs, and we are going to nuke here. So we'll bring Shion in for Trya, and then we'll go ahead and use the Pierce buff. So guaranteed Pierce and 60%, and then we'll go ahead and use Frey. Now, Isis is in the back with an ult, but it doesn't matter because Isis isn't physical, so she's not getting crits, so it doesn't really matter either way. So we'll use Frey, give us those extra 40 points, and then we can use the attack buff and the Pierce Resistance down. Shion's up to 64% Pierce power, so technically we did eclipse what Aqua would, gave us by 4%, but yeah, extra damage is extra damage. But at least also Rimuru now has 60% Pierce power, which is nice. So 7,000, great job. Rimuru does 75k, not bad. And then Shion does 112, also not terrible. And then the follow-up orbs, 200% orb does how much? 52.5? And we killed him turn 4. I mean, yeah, Shion's pretty powerful. And I have her skill fused. You don't need her skill fused because we would have lost a little bit of damage, but not too much there. But yeah, that's another team that can take it on. I think I have one more. Let me go check. Okay, so technically when this event came out, I did a video with a stacking stun team already, so we're gonna just put this on double speed. But ideally, you have 2 orb changers, Isis and Trya, who can do a lot. Isis is buffing the greens, Trya is converting her own and the special convert. If you want to bring Anniversary Milim for the special convert and the alt buff, you 100% totally can. But we didn't. We're going to bring Shuna, because we're going to use her as a DPS, because one, she gives herself a light buff, she gives herself crit damage, as long as you bring someone who gives her crit, which that's why we brought the hero. And then we have free, Octagram Guy to stun lock Ifrit from, like, turn 3 moving forwards. So, that's the whole point of this team. Veldora, because we're bringing, green units who can buff the greens, we're being able to have enough points to use orb changes, use the stuns while still resetting everything, and also giving Shuna extra magic damage that just ramps up more and more and more. So then on a nuke turn, ideally she'd have the 70% magic buff, guaranteed crits, the crit resistance down, the light attack, and the 40% crit damage, and it'll look fairly good. It's just that we need a little bit of luck to go our way, because we need to have constant orb changing, constant stunning, so you don't take a lot of damage. You need to have Guy, like, pretty much always have a 25-point stun to keep it as cheap as possible, because once you start using that a few times without resetting it, it does become quite expensive and very difficult to reset down multiple levels. So here we've got Veldora again to reset, so we will do so, and then use Guy again to stun, and we're going to keep him permanently stun locked. We've used the steals, we're going to use the ults, there's no point in holding on to anything, we just want to do consistent chip damage over and over and over. We have Trya here to convert all those Guy orbs, but we don't have the ability to stun Ifrit, so we're going to have to take this turn to build our points back up and build our gauge back up, which is unfortunate, but at least it's not an alt turn. So yeah, there's one hit, the burn right there. Alright, cool. Isis can buff the greens and then go the hell away. We'll bring Shuna in to steal all those, give us a full hand. We'll bring Guy back in so we can reset his stun and not take this ult here. Very, very important that you make sure that Guy is always at a base cost for his stun. And then even if the oranges and blues are nerfed, whatever, I just want damage. I just need damage. Unfortunately, we're stuck right here, so we have to stun him, because I don't want to take that ult. And it does push Guy up 2 levels on his cost, which is unfortunate, and we're never going to get back down to 25 after this, But I think we actually don't need it, because we're so far in. I do want an EX ult for Shuna, technically. I would very much appreciate that. I don't know if I actually get it, though. And that's the whole issue. So, what do I do here? I actually don't remember, because I recorded this like 2 days ago. Alright, we're going to use Guy to reset and give us the magic damage. We're going to rewind, crit buff, and buff with Shuna. Interesting. Alright, we're going to send it. Okay. 18k, 99k, 22k. I know it's really hard to see because I didn't slow it down. But we did just enough. If we had had the EX ult, we would have killed him on the nuke regardless. But yeah, that took 8 turns using a suboptimal team focused on just stunning and resetting all the time. So, I mean, technically it works. Technically, like, the hero you don't need at 120. You don't need Isis and Trya at 120. They're fine at 100 or whatever. They're only here to orb change. Guy is base level. I've kept him there for a reason. Veldora does have, quite a few dupes and everything in him, but, whatever. So does Tella. But, I mean, Shuna doesn't even have dupes. She's her base level 100. So, team can definitely do it. It may take you a few tries, but it can do it. And now I think we move on to the final team. Alright, the last team is, supposing you've summoned over the past 2-3 months or so, you managed to get Frey and Milim. You've already done the first couple fights, so you technically have Gabiru. Isis is free to play. You pulled for Megamine because most people should have pulled for Megamine. And then you also pulled for Shizu, because Shizu is actually quite useful and she's hot. This team can run quite efficiently because of the weakness damage buff that Shizu gives alongside swapping the ult, which we know is why the Hero 2.0 came out for this meta with Frey and Milim. But, you know, as long as you have someone who can convert that blue orb that Shizu's going to turn it into, and we do, because we have Frey, and Isis, and Milim, technically, because she can convert her own damn blue orb, things can work out fairly well here. And we're going to use Milim to her fullest abilities, plus that weakness damage buff is for 2 turns, so we can do quite a bit of additional damage in 2 turns with that extra 50% damage buff right there. So we have Gabiru, who has the single orange orb change, Milim has a single blue orb change, so we can have a full hand here. Gabiru's other skill is buffing World of Fantasy characters' ult gauge by 20%, which we will use actually twice here, so we're actually getting good use out of him. But Milim doing 25,000 damage, yeah, is pretty nice right here. Not the greatest hand in the world, but it is what it is. So we'll go ahead and buff our ult gauge a little bit. We've got 3 Gabiru orbs, I mean, that's cool and everything. We'll swap Megumin out so we can use the orb changes here. We are looking to use as many skills as possible because we want to buff Milim's crit damage as much as possible. So Frey will convert the rest of that, and then I think we just kind of send it. Gabiru has an ult. That's great. I mean, he's not the damage dealer. He does get extra damage because he is on World of Fantasy, but he's not an EX character. I don't actually remember if he's a single target or AoE. Hold on, let me go check that while we're watching this. All right, well, he's almost dead anyways, so I mean, that's cool. Gabiru. Gabiru is... he is single target. Oh, well, okay. So that's cool. 470%. Increases guard penetration, which doesn't mean jack shit here, but whatever. Isis will come in and save Gabiru from dying. And then we have Frey, who can give us enough points to use the ult swap ability. And then we should have enough to also swap that blue once it gets swapped. So there's that, and then perfect. So 15 points there to turn into a blue, and then Milim turns that blue into a green. And then we have the EX ult for Milim. We have an ult for Shizu. We have an ult for Gabiru in the back. And it's going into turn 4, which is quite nice. And I believe we've also used the extra weakness buff. Yes, we did. So 56,000 damage right there, and the 200% orb is real nice. We'll swap Isis out for Megumin, use her buff. And then we'll bring Gabiru in, and that will give us 40 more points once we use Frey, and that will allow us to use the crit damage and attack buff on Milim, and then we will just wipe the floor. And that'll be the end of the video. So, I know it's kind of long, but I wanted to showcase a bunch of teams that can take on this stage, and to help give people some ideas on team building. Obviously, if you don't have any units, then you're not really going to be able to beat this, but yeah, it is what it is, right? You either got it or you don't. So Gabiru, we haven't watched this ult in a long, long time, so let's just see him get yeeted by this roller coaster. He always has entertaining animations, if anything. Bye! 74k? Alright. Milim? Yeah. She does a lot. So there we go. Those are, what, 5, almost 6 teams? Hold on, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, 5 teams that can clear EX3 and help you get those final dupes of Gabiru. Let me know if this video helped you out in the comments below, but that's it for me, guys. Take it easy, and I'll see you all later.